We are going to be talking about swimming and how important it is as a life skill. In a world surrounded by water, mastering the art of swimming transcends recreation. It becomes an essential life skill. Beyond the joy it brings, swimming equips individuals with the ability to navigate water safely, fostering confidence and a sense of security. Whether in emergency, water-based activities, or simply enjoying aquatic environments, the proficiency in swimming opens doors to life enriched by both safety and recreation. Embracing waters, learn to swim, embrace a life skill that lasts a lifetime. And we have in the studio with us, I'm CEO Climax Group Child Educator, serial entrepreneur.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
I'm saying because I'm used to the name since.
Because you could actually call me
your email said so I kept saying Even when I was coming at the gate, I told them I have a guest. His name is
So they were not so sure. They said, Amfani. Okay, which one is it? so you could call me Amfani. Amfani is just fine.
Oh, okay. So nice.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so tell us how essential, how important is learning the basic
the skills of swimming. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really glad to be here, and I just want to enlighten people about the importance of swimming. Swimming is not like every regular activity that people do outside. It is a life skill, so that should be set. It's a life skill that every person should have, both adults, both kids, both children. Everybody needs to learn the skill of swimming, because we live in a world where, these days there are floods everywhere. There are different activities. People have pool parties. If you check the ratio of pools in the FCT, for instance, it's really high. It's more than 70% of homes that have swimming pools. And there's a high risk of drowning. We don't really have data in Nigeria to be able to tell how many people drown in Nigeria. They don't have a proper ratio to keep up, statistics to keep up with it. But trust me, the numbers are really high. So it's very, very important that children and adults alike learn the skill of swimming.
It's a beautiful thing. Now, you spoke about the children and adults alike. How are you able to, teach people from different age, with different age group? How are you able to get them to be comfortable in their own, should I say, the zeal of at least wanting to learn? And what would you say is the difference between teaching a child and an adult?
Oh, great. That's one of the favorite questions I always get. There are questions that people ask when they want to learn how to swim, but these are one of the major ones. So I always tell people, so there's one thing that you encounter when you're teaching people how to swim. So it's one thing to know how to swim. It's another thing to know how to communicate the skill to someone else. So in my own experience, when I'm teaching adults, I find it very easy to be able to communicate to them about swimming. I tell them, okay, these are the skills, this is what you need to do. This is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And they're like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I think I can walk around this. But for children, because their attention span is almost at, let me not just call any number, but the attention span is almost at 0. So it's very difficult communicating with children. But over time, one of the strategies we use is repetition. We teach them over and over and over.
Mothers have been doing that.
It's amazing, repetition. And then one of the things I have learned, doing this job is a lot of patience, because you work with children. Some are extremely very, very difficult. Some are very fun-loving. Some are so daring. They're not scared of anything. They want to jump in the deep end on the very first day, and you're wondering, hey, dude, calm down. Take it easy. Don't rush. So, but it's just a lovely experience. It's a good thing
that you're always there to guide them. And I remember you telling me that you're called the baby whisperer.
Yes, I am.
Tell me what's the reason behind that. How do people call you baby whisperer?
It actually has to do with you practicing a routine over a period of time. So I tell people, I want to be like you. I'm like, can you pay the price that I've paid? Can you walk, the number of hours I've walked to be able to get to where I got to? So it takes a lot of practice over a long period of time. And, you get vast experiences from different kinds of children. So I always tell my, my friends and my clientele that this boy, the parents, as soon as they come, they're like, this child is going to cry, so just be ready for it. I'm like, okay, don't worry, let's see how it goes. And then after a few minutes, the child is hugging me, the child is, calm, and the parents looking at me like, dude, where did you get that skill? But it took time to practice, knowing how to communicate to the child, knowing how to talk to the child, getting the child to become my friend first before I start to introduce the routine to the child. So it takes a whole lot.
Now, talking about skills and all that, I can't wait to get to the part of how important the swimming is in life. But I want to know, because most times some people are not really coaches, but then they know how to swim and they want to at least be able to teach someone around them. So how are you able to manage your coaching strategies in getting people and working with them individually when it comes to their weaknesses and their strength? Because someone's strength
is someone else's weakness.
So how are you able to manage that?
So one of the ways I do that is communication. So from the onset, I sit with you and I talk to you and I'm like, okay, so what is it you want to achieve from the onset? That's maybe talking about the adults. I sit with you, ask you questions. Did you have any past experience? Did you ever see someone drown? So, regular questions I would ask to get feedback from you, to know what, how to communicate to you. And people are like, look, I have phobia. I have serious phobia in this. And I'm like, okay, calm down. And then I talk you through the process. So it's always about communication. I sit with the person, we stay by the shallow end.
Indeed.
And then maybe 30 minutes into the class, you see yourself at the deep end and you're wondering, how did I get here?
Yes.
I talked you through the process. So it's always about communication.
No, I'm actually coming to my next question.
Yes.
As a swimming coach, how deep can you go? Can you swim in an ocean?
Oh, yes, I can.
Rivers? Like, how is it 6 feet, 7 feet,
7 feet? We're talking about 20 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet.
Because I've seen videos of people diving in deeper and doing things like walking inside the water and stuff. So how have you been able to achieve that? Okay,
so let me cast my mind back to when this journey started. Most people in Nigeria went to school, did a lot of stuff, but they're not doing what they studied in the university. So I grew up in an academic environment. My father's a professor, my mom is a professor, and my dad could not just understand why his first son would want to be a swimming instructor.
There's always that issue with first sons.
So he fought me growing up. He fought me like, dude, I'm not happy with you. You better go and get a job. I'm like, Dad, this is what I want to do. And at the beginning when I started, I had maybe like 1.5 clients. The business was not working. It wasn't doing well. But because of consistency and persistence, I kept pushing and kept pushing. And honestly speaking, the business grew. It grew over a period of time. So that passion to want to communicate skills to someone, it came from childhood, from when I was like 5, 6. That's when I started learning how to swim. Okay, so there are people that would want to know different skills, because there are different skills to everything. So can you take us through different skills when it comes to swimming, so people can learn from it? So there are 4 basic routines that you need to learn. First, there's called the freestyle. Then there's the backstroke, there's the breaststroke, and the butterfly stroke. So let me just start from the very first one, the freestyle. That's like the most common one, where you see people are pulling their arms like this. From the back. It's always fun. The front, it's fun to see somebody do that, but trust me, when you do the routine, it's not as easy as it looks. Indeed.
I always say that swimming, it's one of those exercises that involves you moving every part of your body,
including your mind. Your mind is engaged because it has a lot of stages of repetition, combination of steps, combination of people. Like, man, this thing is complex, but I try my best to communicate with you. I go with you at your pace. I don't push you. There are some clients that from the very, very onset, they are like, very energetic. They want to do everything. I'm like, okay, let me push you. And then there are some that are very cautious. They're like, hey, we're going beyond the, the shallow end.
And you wouldn't blame them, because they saw how people are coping. All right, so you were telling us, you told us about the first, skill. Let's hear the other ones.
Okay, so there's breaststroke. The breaststroke routine is a little bit more complex. Most people don't really even want to learn how to do it. It's quite complex. Then there's the backstroke, which I, as a swimming instructor, I'm not even supposed to be saying this on air. I do not like it. very, very rigorous.
Well,
so
like she said,
front, but then
yes, it's exactly. It's like the front crawl.
Yeah, but then you're doing it backward. Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah, and they say people doing it, and they make it look
so
they make it look.
mentioned what may be what you may like.
Exactly, someone else's weakness.
It's okay for you not to like something, even if you're an expert in it.
Even when I do it, it looks so nice, so glorious. But trust me, my elbows are hurting, my knees are hurting, and everybody's like, "Wow, that's really good." And I'm like, "You don't know the pains I'm feeling." Actually.
Right, so
and
the
then
final one.
The final one is the butterfly. So that one is quite difficult because you have to segment your body. You use your two legs like a dolphin. You kick your two legs at once, and then you pull over with your arms. It's quite
and from the top, we've seen how drone shots get that.
Okay, so is it the one that when you dive, your hands are like this, and then your legs are swimming like a fish?
That's called the dolphin kick.
Oh.
The dolphin kick.
I'm always, it's always fun when you see people diving and they go through and then they start.
Why would they go through? I mean, dolphins are doing it.
But that's their.
Is that the reason why you have muscles or you visit the gym?
Funny enough, I don't use the gym.
Wow.
I don't use the gym.
It's
Swimming
an exercise
keeps you
on its own.
completely fit. Physically, mentally, you are alert. You're strong because over a period of time, your immune system becomes very strong. I rarely get cold. But I'm always in cold water. And people are wondering,
I'm glad you're talking this because
so,
I wanted to ask that question, the benefits of swimming, like physically and mentally. Please give us more tips of people need to know because growing up in Nigeria especially, there was this fear, even for those of us that had the privilege of going out and then seeing the river and then you're jumping. Parents are always scared of you going to the river to try. Exactly. So people are just welcoming swimming now. Even taking their kids for swim lessons. So right now we want you to give us the benefit, the importance of it, the benefits of that you would gain when you're swimming mentally and physically.
Thank you for that question. It's very, very important that we talk about benefits. So first of all, I'll start with saying that swimming, the health benefits for swimming is so enormous. There are so many things it can do for you. It can help you to keep you fit. But I'll start first from saying that the risk of injury when swimming is almost at maybe like 2%. Probably maybe someone falls by
because
the
you're
edge
underwater.
Of the pool. Most of other activities you do, probably like running, and I'm not trying to spoil any other person's business, but running, going to the gym, you are at risk of having injuries, back injuries, lifting weights, and all that. But in the pool, at age 60, at age 70, you can learn how to swim. So the risk of injury is almost at zero, as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things that swimming has helped me to do is to keep me fit. Very, very fit, physically, mentally, you're alert, helps your cardiovascular muscles to be strong. You know how you can breathe properly. Some people are climbing maybe 4 steps and they are breathing heavy and you're wondering like, why is this person breathing heavy? But it helps your cardio, helps a lot. Your blood, keeps your blood flowing properly. People are complaining of blood clot these days. Keeps your blood flowing, keeps everything running. I actually told you I have phobia, but I've always wanted to learn how to swim. I think it's in my family we have few that swim like fish. I wonder how they know how to swim. But then breath control is very, very important. There are people that really swim, but they can't hold their breath for a very long time. Sometimes I try to, train myself. I could go, if I go to swim with my friends, I'll just go under the water. I'll be counting. I'll count for a few seconds, maybe a minute. I don't know if I do that, but in my head, I think I stay for maybe 3 minutes. That's that.
It could turn out that it's just 10 seconds.
It's just 10 seconds.
I'm telling you, in my head, I feel that, So please tell us, how can one know how to control their breath underwater, which is very important because if you breathe, you could get drowned, should I say?
You can take in water, you can drown. So first of all, that's one of the first things I teach because if you want to learn any skill, what is most important is the fundamentals. So for instance, you're learning how to drive. You need to know how to park. You need to know the road signs. You need to know all the basics as regarding, driving. But for swimming, you also need to know the basics, the fundamentals. So one of the major things I teach first is breath control. I'll teach you how to hold your breath for 5 seconds. And some people come out, they are coughing, water's gone down their lungs and they are coughing. And I'm like, as you practice this more and more, you get better at it.
So do you tell them to go inside the water?
Oh yes, we do it together. Okay. Actually, we hold our hands, you know, just to help boost confidence. We go underwater 5 seconds, you come back up, we do 10 seconds, we come back up, we do 15 seconds, we come back up. Some people even get up to 30 seconds holding their breath on the first day.
I go 3 minutes.
I don't think so. Even me, I do like about a minute.
Okay,
you know,
and now we know she did 5 seconds.
Maybe
because
like
before I was waiting 10.
So,
all right, let's talk about standing in water. I've always been curious. I mean, I tried it once.
Exactly.
And I was fighting off the coat, like, get off me, you're trying to drown me. But then I find it difficult to hold yourself while standing, because the water, that is when you feel the force, and that's when you can relate to people that drowned, God rest their soul, because you realize that water, even while it stands still, there is this strength it comes with. So how are you able to tell how can someone stand in water? I mean, that should be the question.
Okay, so it depends on the instructor that is taking the class. So one of the things I do is to help you to overcome your fears. I talk to you, try to engage you. I hold your hand, I sing songs just to get people's minds off the routine first of all. So we talk and then we take a walk together. I show you how to do it. Then after a while, I'll be like, okay, let me give you like 5 meters. Walk towards me. And the person's like, I can't walk. I'm going to fall. I'm like, don't worry, you'll be fine. It's just 1 arm's length. I'll get to you. And over time, repetition, I mentioned it at the beginning of our talk. Repetition, consistency over a period of time. Your body buoyancy will start to adjust to it. Standing and walking. But
you need to have a lot of strength, right, to hold yourself.
Oh yes.
So it's like you doing, what is it called? This not the push-up, but the plank. It's like you doing plank, but holding yourself standing.
Amazing.
Is that it? Because
trust me, it's actually much more.
Why I can relate to it is that I have started trying that.
It's painful.
So for instance, you're doing yoga.
Yeah.
For instance,
yoga.
You're doing yoga. You're
Pilates.
outside. You're doing yoga. It's it's a little bit comfortable. But buoyancy in water is over 200% over what you're doing, because there's more pressure in water. So there's that tendency to feel like, wow, this thing is not working, this thing is not for me. But with consistency, with persistence, you get better.
I've seen videos, like I said, on social media where I've seen people walk in waters. You could see them walking, you could see them doing things inside. How possible is that? Is that fiction or is it real?
It's not fiction, it's real.
Can you do that?
I can do it. Let me say this out here. When I got married, I did an underwater shot.
Yeah, the first underwater
my first shot. When I got married, I did my underwater shot. And people said it was Photoshop, and I felt bad. Because we spent almost 5 hours doing that shot. The photographer did not know how to swim.
Yeah.
So anytime we go under and he takes the shot, he will cut off our head, he will cut someone's hand.
And I forgot to mention that he actually was the first person to do the underwater shots in West Africa.
In West Africa.
Interesting.
It's verifiable. You can go and check.
Interesting.
Underwater shots. I just thought we could do this thing differently.
Yeah, like every other country is doing.
Let's do it differently. Why should we? And people are like, swimming. Is it your phone you're using? So I had to source for cameras, GoPro cameras, so many things. I'm talking of like maybe 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, so a baby whisperer, I always go back to that.
Yeah.
Tell me your success stories of, people that you've coached and, dealing with adults and kids is definitely a difficult one. Like Sumaya rightly mentioned that, there are tough ones and there are soft that you can easily maneuver and, navigate. How can you tell us the success story? Are there clients that are happy with your services? And what are their achievements afterwards? Were you able to follow up?
Oh, great. So first of all, I want to say that, most of the time I actually look for the difficult students, because, working with them helps me to get better. When I work with a child that is difficult, that cries a lot, that is very clingy to the mom, wants to be around the mom, those are the kinds of children I am looking for, because at the end of the day, they make me better. I learn a different skill, how to communicate to the child, over a period of time.
So you're growing.
Sorry to cut you short. Well, how many months old baby do you start training how to swim? Because I've seen some of your videos that you start swimming, training some babies. Exactly, like this baby now. How many months is this baby?
He was 10 months when we started with him. 10 months. He's about 3 now.
Oh, wow.
He's about 3 now, and he's doing so well. But over a period of time, I've had kids much younger than this.
He looks so excited.
He's happy, and he's not even, and he's not breathing.
He's not. He's holding his breath.
Babies are always.
He's holding his breath. I taught him how to hold his breath because there's a procedure to doing it.
I'm curious. How do you whisper to babies?
It's very, very difficult to communicate to a child that cannot speak.
Exactly.
So I use non-verbal communications. I use numbers. I use things that he can understand. So I can hold him, and I'm counting 1, 2, and I pour water over his head.
Oh yeah, I've seen a video that you were doing that.
1, 2, and at some point, when I say 1, 2, he knows. You feel him hold his breath. So he knows water is coming over his head. So at that point, I now start to submerge him. It takes a long, sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, to get a child to that point.
So you do home services. Some of the schools
we do home services. Some are private homes. Some are the locations that I use.
Honestly, you're living the best life, I would say.
I'm telling you, underwater.
There's nothing better than doing what you love and getting paid for it.
I mean, I don't even want to be a swim coach, but I'm loving your job already.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the importance of learning this. So in your experience, how does swimming contribute to the overall water safety awareness? We need to hear from a coach on that.
Okay, so that's very, very important, because there's a statistic that says in Nigeria, for instance, swimming is not so prevalent. It's just now, you mentioned it earlier, that parents are beginning to loosen out to say, okay, we want our children to swim. Most I don't want to generalize, but I would say, because I'm in the industry, that most parents just felt like this is just an activity to just have fun, and they never saw it like something very serious. So it's very, very important that parents need to start to pay attention to it. Not because I'm trying to push my business out there, but I'm trying to say it's a very important statistic that needs to move up. If you look at the ratio about sports in Nigeria, the ones that are very prevalent are football, basketball, athletics, and all that. Those are good, they're lovely. But swimming is somewhat neglected, and it needs to grow.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to ask that question. Being a coach, how do you think the government can actually fund or support swimming in Nigeria, so we can actually see it become like the basketball, football that you just mentioned? Because putting energy in one side, it's not good. So what do you think the government can do?
So I feel the government has been really good. They've tried their best to do what they can to help us. And we have, I'm going to say this on air, we have one of the most amazing set of swimming instructors in the FCT. Really good guys, trust me. But one of the things that is somewhat lacking is that unity. We need to come together. We need to come together as a team, tell the government this is our plan, this is what we want to achieve. Everybody's doing their thing individually, but they are just micro efforts, but if we could come together as a unit and make this thing work, trust me, we have brilliant ideas. We have a small union where we come together and we talk, and when you hear some people's ideas, you're like, wow, man, dude, you need to go and wake up. You need to go and brush your notes and improve on your skill. So many people in the FCT that know this job. But if we come together, then the government will take us seriously.
All right, let's talk about the positive impacts of swimming when it comes to boosting self-esteem and confidence. In your career, would you say that you've met how people's behavior, how people's love for oneself changed, after taking a swimming class?
I'll give one example of somebody that had, that told me about how she had a little bit of self-esteem issues, had weight issues, and I dealt with her for about 4 months, and the results afterwards were amazing. Amazing. You see, those kinds of experiences are much more than money for me. When somebody says, I went through your swimming lessons and I got better. For me, that's much more than money. She came in, she was a little bit overweight. She was always feeling so bad about how she looked. I had to talk. So I've learned a lot working with people over the years. I learned, she was like, she's not comfortable. She wants a private pool. So I was like, are you ready to pay the money for a private pool? But I didn't know that she was actually dealing with self-esteem issues. So I talked her over the process, and trust me, right now she's doing so well.
I've always felt I am heavy for the water.
Right?
Yes.
You feel
I've always felt so.
Well, you're not.
let me decide that mentally. But then tell me what do you think, you know, your advice, or should I say from your experience, what do you wish people should, you know, learn from this particular skills that you have?
Okay, so it's a very difficult skill to learn. I will not just gloss over it and say it's very easy to learn. It's not easy to learn. But one of the things that it helps you do after you've learned is it just feels there's this sense of achievement. Wow, I learned this thing. I can do something else that is a little bit difficult on my terrain, on my field. I can do other things if I can learn how to swim. There's a client I had, she was 64 when she started learning. 64, a grandmother. And she was like, I don't have anything to do. So I have my children, I have my grandchildren. She didn't feel she's heavy
like I'm feeling heavy?
Funny enough.
Because there are some people that call me grandma.
Funny enough, the bigger you are, the easier it is for you to swim.
Interesting. We've seen people. I've seen people just relax and float on water.
I can float. Actually, funny enough.
That is
but I'm still scared of water.
No, you float because the water carries you.
I actually can.
So
I started learning, right?
Okay,
but then I still have that phobia. I don't know why. Maybe because back then I had some experience with friends that threw me inside the pool.
So what I should ask is, are you willing to give it a period of continuity, maybe for a month?
Oh, yeah. Maybe if I had done that, I would have overcome.
Then you would have overcome.
All right, I have a quick question for you due to time. Because of a lot of boat mishaps that has been happening in Nigeria, in Niger, in Adamawa, and all that happened. And before the divers would get to them, if these people were at least able to hold on, you know, before those professionals get there. So on a global level, how would you say it is important for, you know, the government, the states, individuals to make sure that
create more awareness and enlightenment,
swimming facilities in schools, educations, and all that, and start at the earlier stage?
Oh, that's really very important, because schools are already doing that. I work with a lot of schools in the FCT. Schools are already taking it as part of the curriculum for children to learn how to swim, which is very important. We have facilities, you know, in the FCT here. We have our national swimming pool. You know, beautiful location, very lovely pool. We have lots of awareness on this, but it's very important, you know, for everybody to come together to say, you know what, we need to create positive awareness for this. So one of the projects that we are planning to do at Climax Swim School for next year is Project Swim 1000.
We can't wait.
Yes, Project Swim 1000, and I'll just give you brief details about what it's about.
Oh my God! Because of time, you know, we cannot hear that details yet, but I'm sure that people will be able to reach in order to hear that.
We'll definitely bring him back again afterwards. So people
Thank you so much for joining us to talk about these skills that people need to learn, which is swimming. To save your life is one of the most important things, and we learned a thing or two from you, and we hope that our viewers are able to catch that too. Thank you so much for joining us, Amfani. I am CEO, Climax Group, child educator and serial entrepreneur. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and with that, of course, we have come to the end of Daybreak on Trust Television, Daybreak Extra. We hope that you picked a thing or two, you know, in these 2 hours show that we brought for you. And yes, this is the last Daybreak show that we have until next year. So we wish you a very happy and successful New Year. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Do have a lovely day. And I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. Like Sumaya said, do have a great year. And by the way, compliment of the season. And then stay tuned for our weekend sports with Adini Ajishafi.